Welcome back to the channel, Classic Volkswagen Lovers, Junior with Classic VW Bug and Sonny the Super Beetle. Today I'm going to be installing the all 4-wheel disc brake application master cylinder that I purchased from SoCal. It's the AC Industry brand. That's it right there. And I am also going to be installing the ANC Industry reservoir that installs over the pump. So the goal is to take this master cylinder and take this reservoir and install it on top of it, just like so. The way it works, you have to remove these two here, these two connections, and basically press this on, and that should be it. However, after having been under the car, I noticed that the Super Beetle has a structural piece of metal that goes across from one end of the axle to the other, and I think that that's going to be a problem for me because I won't be able to do the over the master cylinder reservoir application. I'm gonna give it a try to see how it works, because in one of my emails I was requested to respond back to SoCal in a survey to see what was my feedback in regards to this type of application. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know if I missed it or not in the disclaimer, but I'm pretty sure that if what I think is correct is not gonna work, because I won't have enough clearance to install the pump. So this pump is gonna be facing in the car in this manner. This portion is gonna be sticking through the firewall. This is where your push rod is gonna be sticking through here, and this is where your brake pedal will attach to the linkage that when you press the brake pedal makes this master cylinder work or make your car brake. If that's the case, worst case scenario for me will be to just leave these back on and then connect to the existing OEM setup that I currently have in the car. That being said, let me go ahead and put the pump together. So basically, if you just grab onto the end here and push up, it'll come out easy. So let's do that with the other one. You just grab onto it and pull it up. We're gonna put the reservoir on top of it, and basically it's just a matter of sticking it in like that. So now that we have the reservoir installed over the master cylinder, the next step is to take this, go under the car, and slide this boot through the hole, the opening, and just install the 2 bolts and torque it, and that should be it. If everything goes well and this clears out, it'll be fine. If not, I'll have to remove this again and stick to the original setup, which is keeping the hoses coming from the top of the trunk reservoir and connecting into the pump. And I'll show you that here in a minute. This right here is the original reservoir. There's these 2 hoses right here. They go and connect down at the bottom. That's the original setup. Now we're gonna go under the car and we're gonna take a look at what I was telling you that I think it might be a problem. Let's go ahead and go under the car and take a look at what I was telling you about. So this is where we are connecting the pump right there. That's the opening for that. You can see that those are the 2 connectors that comes from the supply hoses on top that will connect over the master cylinder, provided that I can't use my current new setup. So the support I was talking about that I think it's gonna be a problem. This support right here goes right on top and across from the master cylinder. I won't be able to install the setup that I want to. It may only work with Beetles, but if that's the case, it was me who missed it. Let's go ahead and take a look and see. Perhaps maybe I'm wrong and it might work. And if that's the case, then I'll be happy about it. But if not, then I'll just default back to doing the original installation for it. Okay, just as I suspected, I don't think that the over the master cylinder reservoir works with my 1971 Super Beetle. As you can see, that cap is about to hit the top support right up there, so I don't have enough clearance, so I'm gonna have to stick with the old setup. I will have to return that one right there. It might have been a disclaimer I missed to read when I order it, so do your research. Make sure that if you are wanting to do the all four-wheel disc master cylinder with the over-the-top reservoir, that it fits your car. So make sure you do your research, go under the car. If you have a structure like this and you have a Super Beetle, most likely it's not going to work for you. So there we have it. I'm going to go ahead now and take this back out, remove that top reservoir from right there and return it, and then I'm just gonna stick to the old setup that I had from the factory. Okay, so we remove this from here. We're gonna put that back into the box and ship it back, and now we're going to install these here, and it's just a press on. You can see that only with one hand I was able to get it in. I'm going to do the next one, and after we do this, then this should be ready to be installed. So it's kind of tight in there. Basically it's a simple process. I'm just going to take the hose and pull the hose from the old connections and basically connect them to here. So I'll go ahead and do that and then I'll show you. Okay, so now we're going to be removing these two here. Basically all we are doing is connecting this hose to the new connector. I got these two nipples out. It was really hard to get them out. So if you're doing this job in your car, have a little bit of faith and patience. It was really hard to pull these out from those nipples. Anyway, so now I'm ready to install the master cylinder, and once I install it, then I'll connect these, and that should cover the installation part right there. We're gonna slide the boot of the front of the master cylinder towards that firewall, put the two balls, and that should complete the connection for the master cylinder against the firewall. Then we have to connect the hoses and whatever brake lines we broke loose to release the old master cylinder. So here's the tricky part, which becomes a challenge if you're working by yourself. It's trying to keep that tight as possible to the firewall. So in order for me to be able to get it like that, I am using one of my microfibers under the master cylinder to shim it until I can get at least one bolt threaded in. Once I get one in, then the rest is going to be fine. But at least I need to get it started so that it will actually hold and stay there. I have a skinny screwdriver trying to hold it in place, and then I'm going to try to get this bolt started. So we got the pump installed. Right now I'm snugging these bolts. Looks like that bottom one is pretty tight in. Master cylinder is already installed. It was a little tricky to get it there by myself. I had to fiddle with it a little bit, but the way that I managed to install it was by getting a Phillips screwdriver that was long enough to go through the firewall, but not too long that it would hit the brake pedal. So that helped me hold the master cylinder in place, and at least I had one bolt aligned. Then I went under the car. I used a rag to balance or level the master cylinder in a manner that I was able to get it really close to the face or the surface of the firewall outside the car. Then with a lot of patience, I got these bolts started. So I got this bolt right here started by hand. Then I took the Phillips screwdriver out, and then I got this one started. And then little by little, I start torquing it a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, and a little bit there. And it came in pretty well lined up. So next, all I have to do is bring this brake pedal up like that and align this here with this push rod and get it started in here. And then, because this is a new master cylinder, I will have to adjust my setting. So I'm going to use this diagram to show you how you are supposed to adjust your push rod for your new master cylinder. You have to adjust the pedal stop play until there is about 0.04 inches or 1 millimeter clearance between the tip of the push rod and this recess area here in the piston. Once I install this, I'm going to start on treading it until it slightly touches the end of the internal piece of the master cylinder in there. Okay, with the master cylinder push rod already installed and attached to the brake pedal, now we can proceed to install the small plate that works as a mechanical stop for the brake pedal. It uses a 13 millimeter bolt, so you can fasten that to the floorboard, then you can release it to go back and rest to its normal position along with the clutch pedal. That way your clutch pedal cable will not fall off the hook. Okay, so now that my cluster pedal is all set up where it needs to be, the push rod is connected to the master cylinder, it's time to tackle the main brake line, but I'm not going to record that because of it being such a tedious job. I don't know that I will be able to do so with one hand and record with the other. So there is the main brake line install. I gotta be honest with you, tedious job. It's too much, I guess, for one person. Installing that grommet was a headache for me. I don't know why, but it did not want it to go in, as well as for the other one and for the one in back over here as well. So if you know of an easier way to install those grommets, just comment below. I try so many different ways with soapy water, oil, anything you name it. They did not want it to go in. So I finally got them in, but they are not to my standards. I think that at some other point I will remove them and replace them. I don't know if they are the wrong size, they send me the wrong size or whatever, but they seem to fit fine over the outside diameter of the brake line, but they did not want it to slide into the opening where the brake line goes through. Okay, so these are the fastening clips that come from factory in the car, so I try to keep the line, you know, as close to that as possible. One of the hardest part that I can tell you that I had a hard time was connecting the line in the rear end to the T connection. To that T right there. I had to fiddle with it like about 45 minutes until I finally connected it and I got it to install properly. And I will say that the worst part that I had the hardest time working with was the installation or connection of this line here, because I didn't have as much brake line sticking out this way. It was really hard to make this offset without the proper tool, because the tool beam bender that I have is so big that it did not fit in here. So I had to actually make this bend using a can that had a smaller diameter, so I could bend this without kinking it. And again, just mentioning it again, I had such a hard time installing this grommet that I think that I even broke it a little bit there. So in the future, I see myself replacing that for one that fits there and looks right. Pending to do installation of the brake switches that go right here and right here. I have to go and check in my wiring diagram to make sure that I connect the wires to the right terminal connection for proper functionality. And I install these hoses right here. I connected them, and I also see myself swapping those in the near future because I don't like how they look, but because I'm gonna be working here and painting this, so I'm just gonna leave them for the time being. And that's about it. So not much else to tell you, not much input that I can give you. Just know that it's not an impossible job to do, but you will have to fiddle with it if you don't have somebody to help you. Trying to record using one hand holding the phone and trying to do the mechanical work with just one hand is almost impossible. So that's why I didn't actually record the installation of the line, but I'm telling you up front that I had a lot of little hiccups that I had to work with and trouble that I had to figure out the best way to connect it in a manner that I wouldn't put a kink to the line, because this is a brake line that you're not going to be able to find in your local auto parts store unless you buy the big roll and you make it yourself. Alright, so that's about it right there. I hope that the video helps you out. It's time to move on to do something else. Okay guys, so we come to the end of the video. We finally were able to complete the master cylinder installation as well as the main brake line. I hope the contents somehow gives you an idea of what you will be putting yourself up to when you do this task. It's not an easy task to do by yourself, not impossible. So just, you know, take your time to do it and don't give up. To my new subscribers, most recent new subscribers, thank you. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Your support is really appreciated. To my followers, thank you for the constant support that you have given me in the last couple of years. It's really appreciated. This is it for today. A new video is coming up with the installation of the brake disc conversion that is going to go in the front of the car, and that's coming pretty soon, so stay put. Until then, this is Junior with Classic VW Buck and Sonny the Super Vito. Junior out. Stay safe.